Hello and welcome to Inside View. I'm your host today, Joel Metzger. And on the show, we have Dave Eggerton. He is the general manager of the Calaveras County Water District. And I also want to let you know that I also work for Calaveras County Water District, so I'm interviewing my boss tonight. We're going to give the annual update for Calaveras County Water District from the GM himself. So Dave, it's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Joel. It's great to be here.
So can you tell those who may not have had a chance to meet you or see a show in the past just a little bit about yourself and how you came to be with CCWD?
You bet. I grew up in Texas, and I met my wife out there in college, and ended up coming back to California with her. That's where she's from. And ended up after school at UC Davis, I went and was actually a corporate lawyer in the Silicon Valley. I transitioned from there into representing local agencies. That was kind of the next phase of what I did. And as part of that, I ultimately landed with a water agency, Eldorado Irrigation District, and was one of the in-house attorneys there. But since then, that's a number of years ago. Then I transitioned to becoming general manager, and I've served at water agency in El Dorado, and now at Calaveras County Water District.
And how long have you been with CCWD now?
Over 2 years.
Over 2 years. So since you've been here, how's it been so far? What have the first couple years been like for you?
I've really enjoyed it. I've got to say it's a tremendous challenge. We've got so many important issues that we're working on, and the challenges of being in an area in the mountains with the vast natural resources that we have. I mean, this is the area where most of the state's water supply originates in the Sierra Nevada. So it's an incredible opportunity to have responsibility for stewardship of those resources, but also the challenges. Just the fact that we do have people. Water systems across the county, and wastewater systems and hydro operations, and we have really our population is spread out. We have many miles of pipelines and many facilities, and just the challenges of trying to take care of that are every day it's something new, and it's very rewarding.
So, for those who don't know much about CCWD, can you just tell us a little bit about what CCWD is and some of the main responsibilities? Yeah,
you bet, Joel. So as I mentioned, it's water, wastewater, and also hydro facilities. And we have service areas across the county. We have customer base of about 13,000 on water and 5,000 on sewer, and then we also own hydro projects as well in the county. So we have reservoirs, we have treatment plants, many miles of pipelines. We've got a staff of 64 employees that operate and maintain this system. All kinds of different positions, from engineering, from those that have to design and implement the next construction projects to improve and replace and add to that system, and then those that care for it, all the way from treatment plant operators to mechanics and electricians and pretty much everybody in between, and then people that have to work on the policy issues like what's happening at the state level and the federal level. So.
And what's the governing structure in terms of a board of some kind?
Yeah, we have a 5-member board elected by the public, each within their own division. And, I feel incredibly lucky to work for the board that I do. And I'm not just saying that because I'm doing this show, and I know some of them will be watching, but it really is, I think we've got a terrific team. And that means so much to being able to achieve the mission of the organization when you really have a very professional board of directors who are focused on delivering safe and reliable service to our customers. And we recently added Russ Thomas to the board, who's recently appointed to fill the remainder of Dennis Mills' term as he was moved on to the board of supervisors. And I just again, I think we are taking on some really important issues that we're trying to address now that will really, I think, really provide for future generations. And that's a really important thing I think about the work that we do, is to really recognize that this is more than just the people that are here right now in this county. It's really about our kids and their kids, and the ability to make sure that their future is provided for.
One of the things that people may not realize is just how spread out CCWD is. You mentioned that earlier, but how far does it range in terms of the geographic areas and towns in the county? For those who don't know.
Yeah, we touch all the way from the county border and some of the things that we have. Well, we have water and wastewater operations in Copper and Valley Springs, and then we have efforts we're working on right up to the county border on some of the groundwater issues that we're working on right now, all the way up to the crest and the Ebbets Pass and on the West Point and Sheep Ranch in between. So, we cover 3 watersheds, three major river systems. With each one has its own unique challenges with McCollum, Stanislaus, and Calaveras. And, each has its own systems for water and wastewater and its own reservoirs. And, everyone has different stakeholders that are involved. It's just there's so many issues to work on. And frankly, that kind of variety, I think, is what makes it a really fun job, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And just finally, just the way the public can interact with CCWD, is that really kind of by electing the board members and then just attending public meetings, things of that nature?
Yeah, you bet. I mean, the board members are a voice for their constituents, and so they're always available to bring forward information from the public. But as well, we really try to really focus on outreach and getting information to the public. Certainly, the board meetings themselves are always open to the public. And we provide information on our website. We try to provide information like this, but the reality is, I mean, and that's why I think most of us that are working for an agency like this are doing the job that we're doing, is because we recognize that we're working for the public. It's a different responsibility than in private business, and some of us really wanted that and sought that out, and frankly, I think most of us did, and so that the opportunity to engage with members of the public and help them understand what it is we're trying to work on, and then try to be responsive to what it is that they bring forward. And a lot of times they're really great ideas that emerge as a result of that.
Absolutely. So I wanted to go over just some of the most important things that CCWD is working on, and we won't be able to touch on everything tonight, but let's start with the drought and just an update on the water supply conditions. Bring us up to speed on what's going on with that.
Yeah, it's really been a time of feast and famine. Really, I mean, we've seen the extremes with multiple years of very, very dry conditions. Some of which they had to go back and look at tree ring data to try to find anything comparable to the conditions that we were facing. Until this year, and we come into this, last fall into this new water year, and it's been an unbelievable, series of storms, and our snowpack and our rainfall has been absolutely extraordinary, and almost 200% of the average for this for rainy season like we've had. So, it's fortunately we had that. I mean, we desperately needed it. It replenished our reservoirs, many of which are across the state, including some in county like Hogan, have actually been in flood operation to try to protect the downstream communities, and then others that are continuing to gain elevation like New Melones, which is much better condition than it was before. So. It's fortunately we do have an abundant snowpack, which hopefully will continue to provide water supply even into the coming months.
So we went through this extremely difficult drought, and I know that CCWD had to ask some tough things of their customers in terms of some of those state mandated restrictions. What can people who are CCWD customers expect in terms of restrictions, and what should they be thinking about when they're thinking about planning things this summer?
Well, I first I have to say I cannot thank the public enough for the incredible results that they were able to achieve through the conservation efforts. That it was everybody chipping in and being a part of that, and the little things and from not letting the sink run while you're brushing your teeth to trying to shorten the amount of time that you had your shower going, all those kind of things. And then outdoor, the fact that a lot of people, took grass out of their landscape and things like that to try to cut back on their water use. As a result, we saw unbelievable conservation achievement, almost 20% conservation last year as compared to a few years ago, and even higher than that, almost 30% the year before. That was critically important for us to be able to accomplish our requirements that we had that largely were imposed by the state that we had to respond to with this statewide drought emergency declared by the governor and the requirements passed down on us. We've come out of that, and this year has fundamentally changed things, and we are no longer in that condition. And so we no longer have conservation requirements that are imposed right now on our customers in the way of any restrictions on the quantity of water that they can use for indoor or outdoor water use, or in the time of days or number of days that they can use that water. So I would say, as we always want to say, be a good steward of the resource. Let's use it wisely. Don't waste it. That's something that we've become very aware of coming through this drought and going into the future, and that will continue to be a priority for us. But I think that this is definitely a different year, and I hope people can really enjoy the water resource, and their lives will be return more to normal.
Would you say, Dave, that the drought is over? I know that's kind of been debated, in the news cycle and by politicians. But what do you think personally?
Well, I believe it is. For most of the state, it is. And, there are pockets of areas where there's still impacts associated with the drought. And, and some of the impacts of the drought are ongoing issues that are going to have to be addressed for many years to come, like the fact that our groundwater basins in the valleys of the state have been overdrafted and need to be recovered. But the reality is, if you look at the course that we're on right now and the amount of precipitation we've had, the only thing that comes close to it is the wettest year in history. So, you have to conclude we've got to be smart about the fact that, actual facts on the ground matter. And the facts are that we've had an incredibly wet year, and let's call it a drought when we really need to. And in the last 4 years, we needed to, but let's hold that back until we see conditions change, and we know they will. They absolutely will, and that's why we have to be prepared for it. And that's why we have things like a drought preparedness plan. So, we should be ready for that.
Speaking of planning, I know the district does a lot of that, and one of the things that was recently approved by the board is the 5-year capital improvement program. Can you tell people a little bit about what this program is and why it's important for customers to be aware of what's going on with this planning?
You bet. That really is one of the most important things that we work on, and that was an important achievement. And it's one that we've been able to, each year since I've been here, and it will continue in perpetuity, really. Every year we have to bring to our board an updated capital improvement plan that includes basically the projects that we want to move forward from design to permitting into construction. The actual shovel in the ground projects that we get done, like replacing our water lines that are old, and like our Reach 1 water line up in the Ebbets Pass area that's 50 years old and was blowing out and creating immense danger to the community and threats to our water supply reliability. Things like that are the kind of projects that are at the core of our CIP program. Most of those projects are within our R&R program, which is our replacement and renovation program, and that's a project that would not be possible if not for the contribution of our customers and through the rates that were put into place several years ago. Well, actually, 2013 and 14 to support that effort, and frankly, those are critically important because again, those are the funds that we use to replace the infrastructure like Reach 1 that pose a real threat. To the public, to our employees, to the ability to deliver safe, reliable supplies, water supplies, or to treat and be able to properly dispose of treated wastewater. And the reality is, if we don't do those projects, we're going to incur serious challenges on the operational side, and probably some liabilities and some damages that could really be bad. So that's fundamental to our ability to really be efficient and cost effective in our continuing operations is to get those projects done.
And so this is kind of split into the main water projects and then the wastewater projects. So each of those kind of have its own budget. And like you said, those contributions passed in 13 and 14 are really helpful to those. Does the district currently have the funding necessary to accomplish the projects that it has on its list, or does it need to find some more revenue?
Well, the way that we do that, we use the R&R revenue, the revenue the customer. The revenue that our customers are contributing to this effort through their rates, we use that we try to leverage that as much as we possibly can through going after particularly grants, state and federal grant money that we can acquire to really to get even more work done and to really again to try to get the most benefit out of the funds that we do receive from our customers. So we've been incredibly successful with that, and a number of different staff at the agency here now and before have done some terrific work to apply for and obtain those funds. And that is just like right now we have one of our CIP projects, R&R projects, is a water treatment plant upgrade at our Jenny Lind water treatment plant in the Valley Springs area, and that's to add facilities that will be able to take out the turbidity and the organics and some of the disinfection byproduct that we're seeing as a result of the Butte fire, and things that will be there in the water that's going to be affecting it for decades to come. So we were able to get grant funds through OES, state OES, and FEMA that are over $3 million to be able to get that project done. Actually, it's close to $3 million. It's about 2.8, and then we have a 25% cost share. But essentially, so 75% of that project would be paid for with federal funds, and then we would utilize again those R&R funds for that additional increment. So you can see if we don't have access to those grant funds and we have to utilize the R&R funds for that, that means that we can't do the other projects that we need to do, like Reach 3A, like now the Reach 1 project from in the Ebbets Pass area, just down Highway 4 from down to Forest Meadows. So, and again, it's another 50-year-old pipeline that we need to replace. It's continuing to fail, and that's these assets only last so long.
Yeah, and you just mentioned Reach 3A. I think that's one that I know folks in the Arnold area have been seeing a lot of construction going on. What's the status on that project right now?
Yeah, it's going really well, and it's been an incredible effort by the staff. Our contractor, T&S Construction, has done a really good job, and we're over 80% completion at this point. So within the coming months, by the summer, we will be finishing that project. And I just want to say in this, and I'm glad to have this opportunity with a chance to reach some of the people in that community, but I just want to express my appreciation for their patience. And as we're moving through this project, I know it's not easy. We've impacted their daily life and their events up there, and we tried to minimize those impacts as much as we can. Tried to work with them to try to understand what's coming and give them information about where the project's going. But the reality is, when anytime you've got projects under construction like this with big equipment and trenches being dug and everything else, there are going to be impacts. And again, I can't thank them enough. When we get done with this and we walk away from this project, we're going to have a facility in the ground, this 3.5 miles of pipeline that's going to be good for decades and decades to come, but we don't have to worry about those breaks that could hurt somebody.
No, absolutely. And I know all agencies are trying to balance, these projects that need to be done versus the budget to do it. And I know that having the opportunity to do these projects and do them in a manner that's planned instead of on an emergency basis, that's really the preferred way to go about doing these. And so while there are a lot of projects, I imagine CCWD is very glad to be able to approach this in a methodical and very careful and thoughtful manner.
Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you the example right now down at Lake Tulloch in our Copper Cove service area with our wastewater facilities there. It's kind of surprised to me when I came in. We actually have a portion of our force main, our sewer main, that actually goes under one of the arms of the lake there, and that's our source water supply for the community of Tulloch. That is their drinking water supply, their fire protection, for copper and that area. So it's. That's one of the projects that we have been planning to do, and again, these aren't our funds. Access to these funds are critical to get that done, and the importance of that is we've got, again, with that line under the lake, and we have pump stations, 3 pump stations next to the lake to lift this sewage through the pipes to push it up into and towards the wastewater treatment plant. That is a real risk to our source water supply, and that's really an unacceptable risk, and that's something that we have to address. And through this program, through this capital improvement program, that's one of our highest priority projects, is to relocate that line so we get it away from the lake and just eliminate that risk altogether, and put in better pipes, better pump stations, give us more operational flexibility in the case that something goes wrong, so that there's less risk of harming the lake, of having a spill. That's the kind of thing that comes into the picture when we're trying to evaluate what projects we want to move forward with.
And these projects touch really every portion of the district. All of our different service areas. There's almost a project for every single one of them. So if something changes, if there's an emergency, does the district have an opportunity to revisit this on an annual or even an emergency basis to change the priority?
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and as we've experienced with the drought and the fire, there are unplanned events that happen that create new projects that we didn't even anticipate as we were developing our plan. That if not for access to the funds within this program, the R&R program, we would be in a very, very difficult position to try to address. For example, during the drought, when we received notice that Lake Tulloch was possibly going to be pulled down to historically low levels that could have daylighted our intake, meaning we would no longer be able to pull water out of the lake again for that community. Again, that's the sole water supply for those areas, and that would be catastrophic. So, using R&R funds, we were able to lower the intake, and now we have a system that is ready for whatever happens. It's low enough that it was designed for that, so that we can deal with whatever elevation the reservoir is at. So, that kind of thing, and like with the coming out of the fire and the effects that we're seeing downstream with our Jenny Lind water treatment plant, those things you just again, we have to be ready to adapt to that. And it's one of the things we talk about with our CIP update now when we take it to the board, as we just did, is that we have to be ready for those emergencies. Again, the worst position we'd be in is if we had something like that happen, which are multi-million-dollar projects, we didn't have access to funds, because then we'd either have to we would have to really do some serious changes. We'd have to basically cannibalize our operating fund, which would be probably not even possible, or go out and try to get loans or something else that much more expensive. Just not. Again, this gives us the opportunity. We can quickly respond to it in a very cost-effective way to do it too, and to be able to reduce the cost, the transactional cost, to get these projects done in a very timely manner.
So this is a close look at the kind of the capital improvement program that you've just explained for us. There's also just kind of a general look at how the district is doing financially as a whole, and I know that the district is beginning to take a look at that and doing a financial analysis. How is that going to work, and what's the purpose of taking a look at the financial analysis?
Well, when we each year we do we have an outside independent auditor come in and audit our financial documents, and issue an opinion, and we've done that for many years, but this past year we actually have now retained a new auditor. It's one of those things every so often you want to bring in some fresh eyes and have someone new come in, and we really had an excellent firm come in and do it, and one of the things they pointed out that really, and in fact this is not new, but we have some challenges within the operations side of the ledger and financially, and really a couple of primary contributors to that are the fact that we did see tremendous amount of conservation, and as a result our water revenues for water consumption were way down. We've lost. In the last few years, we've lost as much as $700,000 a year in revenue from that. So that's a big hit. And then likewise on the wastewater side, we have, we continue to be in one of the things is something I want to do a better job of getting the message out. But really, we're in an incredibly tight regulatory environment from state and federal laws that are placed upon us on wastewater treatment and disposal. And so many, almost everything that we invest in those systems, the projects and the operations, are driven by legal requirements that we have imposed on us by others. Well, as you can only imagine, those requirements continue to ratchet up and up and up, and so there are more things that we have to treat for, and we have to higher level of treatment, and so, all of those things. It results in additional costs that affect our operations on sewer, and that's one of our big challenges. Really, is the fact that we and as the auditor noted, we have a deficiency in between revenues and expenses on the wastewater side. So the coming out of that, the financial plan, and long story short, to get to the financial plan, we really, in conversations with the board, we determined that we really wanted to bring in an outside consulting firm with expertise in our industry and on the financial side and also on the infrastructure, water, wastewater infrastructure, to really analyze our financial information more carefully. So really looking, at our operational revenues and expenditures, but not just now, but also into the future. So looking out 5 years into the future, and really looking at some of the things, the challenges and opportunities that we have, additional costs, but also opportunities for efficiencies that we can pinpoint and try to really access. And really the point is we want to complete this financial analysis plan later this spring and have that discussion with the board and with the public to really talk about these issues, understand them, get feedback, and really, we have to address the issues in one way or the other. And the challenge for us, and particularly on the wastewater side, with as I was mentioning on the difference between revenues and expenditures, is it potentially could cost us access to some of the grant funds that we have been getting and expect to continue to get. And we have $4 million in grant funds available to us through the state for our project, our wastewater consolidation project, basically taking 2 wastewater treatment facilities and consolidating it into one, which would be a tremendous cost savings, operational savings for us into the future. We'd get rid of one of our permits and we'd have a lot less operational cost as a result of that in the West Point Wilsonville system. Well, that would be entirely funded by grants, 100%, which is extraordinary. I mean, that is a tremendous. One of my directors, Terry Strange, likes to say it's free money. It's close to free money. There's a lot of work that goes into getting it, but it's incredible. So the fact that some of the underlying financial issues that could potentially compromise our ability to get that access to those funds, we can't miss out on those. I mean, again, if we don't have that, then we have to redirect the other revenue that we have, the R&R funds that we have, to that. And as a result, we may not have the funds to do something like the Lake Tulloch relocation project on our wastewater line there.
So when this analysis is complete, is the district going to be getting out and interacting with the community and kind of talking over the results?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely one of the most important parts of this is really the outreach and really try to talk to the community and talk with our the people that are affected by this to really again we need to engage in and that's not just in the boardroom. I mean, the board meetings are obviously a public meeting, and the public is often there and comments and interacts in the meeting, but also getting out and talking to community groups and stakeholders and really trying to get feedback on that and that's why I think that we needed that finer grain of analysis and information to be able to bring that forward so that we could have that really robust discussion and then make really smart decisions, and a lot of those are going to be decisions for the board to make, but really, I mean, again, just to be able to see the full picture and, there may be some opportunities to do some things a little differently that could really save us some money. And this may, and again, I really like the fact that our consultant is a consulting firm, HDR consulting firm that has tremendous expertise in our water and wastewater industries and in infrastructure, capital improvement plans, capital construction projects, all of that. So, they can even take a look at our CIP program and give us some feedback on that as well.
Well, Dave, that's all the time we have, but I really appreciate you giving us an overview of what's going on with the district, so thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Joe.
And thank you for joining me on this edition of Inside View. You can find out more by going to ccwd.org or calling 209-754-3543. Joel Metzger signing off.